Good morning, Year 6. I hope you're well and safe. Guess what? It's the last school day of the week this week. We have a bank holiday tomorrow. Can you hear my excitement? Even though we're at home. But it's great to know that we have a 3-day weekend. So, let's get started on our learning. Today is the 7th of the 5th, 2020. And today we're going to be applying our understanding of intervals of time and time conversion in different contexts. For today's lesson, you will need, as usual, a pencil, paper, 5-minute timer, calendar, which would have been emailed to you this morning. If you didn't receive it, you can also download it straight from Twinkle if your parents have an account, or you can download it from the Year 6 blog page. If you didn't receive a calendar, you can also use any calendar that you might have in your home as well. Did you know you need to hear something at least 3 times to be able to recognize the information? And you need to hear it 7 or 8 times in order for it to lock in and for you to be able to remember it. 7 or 8 times. What does that tell us? It tells us that we need to revise, and then revise some more. We can't just do a quick lesson on a subject and expect you to remember it. We have to go over it, you have to explore it, you have to research it, we have to cover it again, or else you won't remember it. So we have to go over things again. So with that in mind, let's go over some key vocabulary that we've covered this week. If you've got your pen, pencil and paper ready, I'm going to call out some spellings and I'd like you to have a go at writing them down. They are mathematical terminology. Number 1, measure. Measure. We use a ruler to measure the length of a sheet of paper. Measure. Number 2, kilometre. Kilometre. A kilometre is less than a mile. Kilometre. Number 3, capacity. My bottle has a capacity of 500 millilitres, but a volume of only 200 millilitres. Capacity. Number 4, conversion. This week in Year 6 we have been learning all about conversion. Number 5, weigh. Some people weigh themselves regularly. Weigh. Number 6, mass. The mass of an elephant is much greater than the mass of a mouse. Mass. Super. So now I'm going to display the spellings on screen and I'd like you to check that you have spelt them correctly. And I'll tell you the reason I've incorporated these spellings this week is because, having looked at the work that's been sent in, these are the spellings that I'm seeing that some of you have been having trouble with. So there's measure, kilometre, capacity, conversion, weigh, and mass. Well done if you managed to get them all. Don't worry if you didn't, it just means that those are the ones that you need to continue working on. So, we're going to do a quick starter on what we have learned so far. Now, these are all things that we have covered over the last week. If you felt quite confident with conversion so far, then pause the video here and have a go at answering the questions. Set your 5-minute timer. If you haven't felt very confident, then I'm just about to put some resources on screen that might help you. So if you feel confident, pause it now. If not, here's your resources to help you. We've got a clock which also shows 24 hours on the inside. We've got some help on how to convert miles to kilometers. And we have a little rhyme to help us remember how many days there are in each month. Pause the video here and set your timer to 5 minutes whilst you answer the questions. Super. Let's go through the answers. How many hours are there in 3 days? Well, we know that there are 24 hours in a day, so 24 times 3. That might be a bit tricky, so you can always halve the 24 and double the 3. 12 times 6. What's 12 times 6? It is 72, so 72 hours. Or you could do 24 plus 24 plus 24. How many days are there in the month of November? Well, we use the rhyme to help us. 30 days has September, April, June and November. So there are 30 days in November. The time is now 10:09. What time will it be in 6 hours and 17 minutes? Write your answer in 24-hour clock format. Well, 24-hour clock format makes it that much easier. So we're going to count on 6 from 10, 11, 11:09, 12:09, 13:09, 14:09, 15:09, 16:09, and then the 09 we need to add 17 to, so we get 1626. What are the 4 metric units that we use to measure length? Remembering back to this week, it is millimeters, centimeters, meters and kilometers. There are more, but those are the most popular ones that we use. How many ounces are there in a pound? There are 16 ounces in a pound. Which is greater, a mile or a kilometer? A mile is farther, and I did help you out a little bit on the last slide. A mile is farther than a kilometer. The distance from Harrow to Leeds is about 185 miles. Convert that into kilometers. Well, we've got some help on screen. 185 divided by 5. So remember we talked about how to do that. You can divide by 10 and then double it. So you would have got 39 and then times that by 8. You would have got 296. Define the word capacity. Capacity means that amount that a space can occupy. So again, I helped you a little bit on the last one in our spelling test. So well done if you got those. We're going to do a little review at the end of our lesson today to see how many of these things that we've gone over you can remember. So you should have got this calendar sheet, and that's going to help us a lot with our lessons today. But before we go on to actually answering some questions, we're going to look at how it's going to help us with our lessons today. So if I was looking at the date, the 21st of January, and I wanted to know what day it would be 4 weeks and 3 days from the 21st of January. Well, first of all, I'd need to find the 21st of January on our calendar. There it is. Can you see it? Super. Covered up with the little purple circle. Now, if I wanted to know 4 weeks and 3 days later, I know that the 21st of January is a Monday. So I'm going to do 1 week later on the next Monday, and that is the 28th. Then I go to 1 week later, which we're going into February. 28 is also on the February month, but we've already done that. We've already used that 28. That's why it's coloured lightly, because it follows on from the month before. So we go to the 4th of February, 28th of January, 7 days later is the 4th of February. Add another 7 days to that, and you get the 11th of February, then the 18th of February. Now we've done 4 weeks from the 21st of January. But we also need to count 3 days. So we start to go across. 1, 2, 3. What date are we on? That's right. We are on the 21st of February. So 4 weeks and 3 days later than the 21st of January is the 21st of February. You're going to be using this method today to help you answer the following questions. In your books, I'd like you to copy and complete this table. And then using your calendar, you're going to work out how many days there are until Brad, Julia, Kylie, and Tina can go on their holidays. So you'll see that Brad booked his holiday on the 12th of June. And he's counting down the days till he can go. He can go on holiday in 3 weeks and 2 days. First of all, I'd like you to convert the number of weeks and days into days in the box where it says days until holiday, and then write down the date that he will be going on holiday using your calendar just as I've shown you. For Julia, you can see we've only got the date that she's going on holiday, so we're going to have to count back in weeks. It's much easier to count in weeks and then days as opposed to just counting in days, but whichever you prefer. Pause the video whilst you do that. If you think this is a little bit easy, this is our 1-star challenge, so I've got a more difficult one coming up. So if you think this one's too easy for you, then please don't bother to do this one. Just wait and we'll go on to the 2-star one. Excellent. Answers are shown on screen. You might want to pause the video whilst you check whether you got them correct. Next, here is our 2-star challenge. We can see here Jill, Julia, Kylie and Tina are going on holiday. But for their holiday, not only are they counting down the days so they can go, they're also trying to save up some money. So they've calculated how much pocket money they earn daily and how much they'll be able to have by the time they go on holiday. So you can see Jill gets 20p a day from the time that she booked it, the 11th of February, until the date that she goes on holiday, so 10 weeks and 2 days later. So you also need to add in a column, in the last column, how much money she would have earned in 10 weeks and 2 days if she's collecting 20p a day. So think about what column is going to help you there. Will it be days until holiday? Will you be multiplying that by her daily pocket money? Think about what method you'll use. Remember, it is not a leap year. So if we're using the calendar that I've sent you, it's not a leap year. But if you're using one that is for this year, then it probably will have a leap year on it. So just ignore the leap day, or maybe use a different calendar for this question. Pause the video whilst you do that. Excellent. And the answers are shown on screen. Have a look through. See how well you did. So today we're going to think as well about how we can work systematically. So that means using a particular method and finding a way that we can find our answer. So going through a column at a time or an area at a time. So on a digital 24-hour clock, at certain times, all the digits are consecutive. That means they're in counting order, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 6, 7, 8, 9, or even backwards, 10, 9, 8, 7. Consecutive order. How many times like this are there between midnight and 7 o'clock? So, for example, we can see 1, 23. All of those numbers are consecutive. We've got 1, 2, and 3. Or 5, 43. Those numbers are consecutive too. Even though they're going backwards, they're consecutive too. 5, 4, 3. Do you think we'd have 10, 9, 8 at any point during the day? No, we wouldn't, because we don't have more than 60 minutes in an hour. And in fact, we don't, on a clock, it doesn't show any more than 59 minutes in an hour. How many times like this are there between midnight and 7 o'clock? How many are there between 7 o'clock and midday? How many are there between midday and midnight? Now, I don't necessarily want you to sit and work this one out, but I do want you to think about how would you go about solving a problem like this? What would you do? How many times are there between midnight and 7 o'clock? Would you sit there and work from midnight and think, okay, I'm going to start from 0, because we know midnight is 0, 0. So would you go 0, 0, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3? How would you work through this problem? Just pause the video for a moment whilst you think about how you would even go about starting this. Excellent. So, here are some ways that some children worked through this problem. And this is taken from the NRICH website, which is a great website for problem solving. Saeed agrees with this answer that there are no times between 7 and midday. He makes a statement about why you don't get times containing a 7, 8 or 9 in the solution. And he said the largest the tens digit of the minute number can be is 5. So the largest unit of the hour number is 6 in order for the time to have consecutive digits. George from Rosebank Primary School says also solved this one and explained his thinking well. Jason took a different view of this problem, and instead of only looking at single digit numbers, he also looked for consecutive 2-digit numbers. And I'm going to show you what Jason did, because I think it's a great method that he used to solve this problem. So this is the grid that Jason drew to help him solve the problem. He looked at midnight to 7 a.m. and he started from 1. He said 1, okay, 2, 3, yep, that's a time, I'll write that down. Then he went to the next hour, 2, 3, 4, yep, that's a time, I'll write that down. And he worked through hour by hour by hour, and he used that method to help him. Then he looked at from 7 a.m. to midday. He said from 7 a.m. to midday, he could only find 10 and 11. So he looked at the digits, instead of looking at the digits as individually, he looked at it as a whole number. So 10 and then 11, 11, 12, 11, 10. And then he did the same from midday to midnight. And you can see he's worked through 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15. And you can see, if you look at that, you can see the pattern there. So the minutes of the hour before becomes the hour of the next time. Okay, so he's used a system there. He didn't just pluck numbers out of thin air and write them down, because then he would miss some. So he had to work through carefully and systematically. So here is the task that you are going to do. You would have also received this in an email this morning. 5 on the clock. On a digital clock showing 24-hour time over a whole day, how many times does a 5 appear? So how many times will you see a 5 on a digital 24-hour clock? I'd like you to think of a way that you can work systematically to work that out. Is it the same number for a 12-hour clock over a whole day? I'd like you to find a way that you can organise your ideas and show them clearly, and then I'd like you to send that in with your work this week. So thinking about how many times a 5 appears on a 24-hour clock throughout the day. But before you go, we're going to think about what we have learned so far. And you'll remember at the beginning, I gave you a little quiz. And I want to see how much of that you can remember. So we talked about how many hours there are in a day and things like that. I'm not going to give you the same questions, but they are similar. So applying those skills that we recapped at the beginning, let's see if you can apply them to solve these questions. How many hours are there in 4 days? How many days are there in the month of April? The time is now 11:29. What time will it be 3 hours and 11 minutes later? Write your answer in 24-hour clock format. What are the 4 metric units that we use to measure mass? I have 48 ounces. How many pounds do I have? Which is lesser, a mile or a kilometre? The distance from Harrow to Birmingham is about 120 miles. Convert that into kilometres. Pause the video whilst you answer these questions. Super. So there are 96 hours in 4 days, 30 days in April. It will be 1640. The 4 metric units that we use to measure mass are kilograms, grams, milligrams and tons. 48 ounces means 3 pounds because there are 16 ounces in a pound. A kilometre is lesser than a mile because we know that a mile is greater. And the distance from Harrow to Birmingham is about 120 miles. Converting that into kilometres gives us 192 kilometres. Remembering we divide by 5 multiplied by 8. So well done if you managed to get those. And if you did better than you did at the beginning, even bigger well done. Now I'd like you to have a look at the worksheets that were sent to you. Choose your level of difficulty. You'll see the stars in the corner, 1 star, 2 star, and 3 stars, and then the extension task, 5 on the clock. Please remember to email us your work at yr6@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Have a great day, Year 6. Bye.